This particular pastor who watched those shows actually took these issues to heart, and he decided he was going to bring the pulpit back into the church and put it in the chancel area. The homeschooler was paying attention, and he decided to put on a suit and tie. And according to him, the results, a complete disaster. Here's what he wrote. Oh boy, we've had nearly a third of our families leave the church, including 3 deacons and a 4th who needs to leave because he's calling me a false teacher. Sounds like it turned out okay. Now, please note, I could interpret that one way. You could interpret it another way. I get it. When it comes to poll results or an anecdote like this, you can bring a particular mindset to it. But I would simply ask us to ponder this. What happened? He puts on a suit and tie, preaching the same. He stands behind a pulpit as opposed to, doing the, hey, everybody, good morning, just moving all around sort of deal. And suddenly, the people are leaving in droves. Let's just ask why. Could it be a coincidence, if you will? I guess so. Suddenly a bunch of people just left. That's a possibility, but I think we're going to have to cancel that one when we continue the letter. Could it be because maybe each one of those deacons had a very bad, it was a terrible accident. They were all moving a pulpit together once, and the thing fell, and it crushed another deacon who was carrying it. And now when you just say the word pulpit, they go, ah! That would be a possibility. But is it also an option that maybe, just maybe, people started seeing him as an authority figure? As somebody who was declaring, this is not my message, this is a message from God, and it actually caused some to leave. Let's continue our letter. Several have accused me of changing my doctrine. I haven't. It's been exactly the same. But by use of a pulpit and nicer attire, I went from being the young, hip, motivational speaker with passion and a great voice to a ruling elder, a pastor with authority. Now, that could be bad, except isn't that what a pastor is supposed to have? Authority? Maybe that's the issue here. Maybe that's why these people left, and it leads us to ask the question, can a suit and tie do that? Can a pulpit do that? Well, our great-great-great-grandfathers thought so. They recognized this is not a guy speaking to people who's trying to relate so that they realize, oh, cool, he's hip and he's just like me. I get that. I understand the thinking behind that. Then let's make sure there's nothing between, okay, you're you and I'm the pastor, and if there's a pulpit between us, there's something between us. And we want there to be a connection. I understand that thinking. But our ancestors thought, exactly, there's something between us. And it is this big thing called a pulpit, because this is not about the guy connecting with people, as lovely as that is. It is about a man who has studied the Word of God, who has prayed like nobody's business, who has read what other people have said about the same text and realized, I don't know everything, and stands before a people and says, thus saith the Lord. That's how they used to think. This fellow gave it a go, and wow, the results were jaw-dropping. Back to our letter. Suddenly, people were actually hearing the words that I was saying, and they hated it. We need to assume that this pastor was doing it the same way. He was preparing his sermons the same way. He was still preaching and proclaiming, but they were somehow hearing it differently, because clothes say something. Props, if we must, say something. A setting says something. That's why they used to make churches so big you would walk in and go, whoa, I'm like really small. There's something bigger than me. They did that on purpose. You could look at those cathedrals in Europe and go, they certainly were extravagant. I wouldn't spend the money that way, and I understand that. But they thought if we build a little cozy, warm building, they're going to think that God is cozy and warm. And if we need to use those terms, okay, he's that, but he's also otherly. And they invested the money and the time to give you that impression without saying a word.